Okay, we are recording.
All right. So can you give us a brief introduction about yourself and the organization that you work for?
Sure. My name is Rob Bushnell. I'm a supervisor over our Medicare patient registration team for Option Care Health. We do a lot of home infusion to patients that are trying to go home and be able to still be on therapy and get better while still being with their family. So it is a very stressful kind of job, very timely. Um, Not a lot of room to be able to help promote like growth of skills and be able to help retain people. A lot of times it's very um, fast moving, fly by the seat of your pants, and taking educated guesses and just being able to have confidence in the people that are working with you to make the right decisions.
Nice. Can you tell us a little bit about the process for employee recruitment?
Whoa, that's a good one. I do things a little unorthodox. We do post links to the job sites like Career Builder and LinkedIn and all those types of sites. So we'll get applicants through there. They're posted internally for any of our current team members, anyone within the organization that might be interested in the role. And then I also reach out to my own team members to see if they have anyone that might be interested in, or they feel would be well equipped to handle the role. Not just giving them a say in who they'd like to work with, but also there's a monetary value. If someone stays on for 90 days, you get I think a $500 bonus. So be able to give them some extra money in their pockets also helps. I usually prefer to go that route first, and then after I've exhausted those options, then I'll start looking at the other applicants.
So you mentioned earlier that retention is a bit of an issue. How do you retain your employees long term?
Humor and stay out of their way. I would have to say just engaging with them, letting them know that I'm human just as much as they are. I'm a regular everyday person. I'm no better than them, and we're all on equal footing. I think that's the most important thing to establish. I don't forget where I've come from. I've been in their shoes. I understand the role. I'm able to jump in and help do the job they're doing as well. I think that says a lot when a leader is willing to jump in and help them and work with them and not afraid to get their hands dirty. It definitely builds a lot of team chemistry, and I'm also willing to listen. I think a lot of people don't like to hear if they're wrong or admit that they're wrong or admit that process is failing. To me, if it's not working, it's not working, and we need to fix it. Whether if I came up with it or the next, somebody high above us came up with it, we got to try to fix it some way, shape, or form. So I'm just really open to hearing ideas. I encourage my group to always come up with something, anything that's bothering them or that's not working right, and let's talk through it as a group or individually and see how it's impacting others and even impacting our patients too. A lot of times things are slow and clunky, and you've got to get it more on the efficient rails and have it smooth, a little more smooth sailing. And you tend to get better accuracy that way and less holdups and less handoffs.
Yeah, it sounds like having that support can also improve the employee satisfaction overall in the workplace. Do you see a link between like higher retention rates and higher employee satisfaction? And if not, what are ways to like increase that satisfaction?
Well, I definitely think there is a link between that and employee satisfaction. We do a Gallup survey once or twice a year. Company puts a lot of focus into that. I try to gauge that month by month, day by day. I can tell if somebody's having a rough day just by their response in a team chat. Like if something's off, something doesn't seem right, I'll check in with them, see if they're okay. Sayada is smiling because she's seen me do it a couple of times. It's important. What we've noticed is teams with lower satisfaction end up having higher turnover. And when you have high turnover, you're constantly in that mode of training people, and you don't know if they're going to last or not. That it's a tough. Healthcare has gotten a lot tougher over the years. years. A lot more regulations, laws, especially we deal with Medicare. So anytime you're dealing with a government payer, there's always layers upon layers that you have to dig into. So knowing how difficult it is, I think it's really important to, I found, to understand what they're doing, understand how difficult it is, and really just get with them and let's talk about these issues. Let's talk about ways that we could possibly resolve them. And no idea is a stupid idea. You know, it could be the smallest thing, from eliminating a number that you're constantly entering into the system over and over again, or entering the same data over and over again. It's little things like that that you can take away from what they do every day to help simplify their process and make things flow a lot smoother.
So you did also mention that because the role is so fast paced, you don't have a lot of time for professional development and skills and stuff. But what opportunities do you offer to improve performance management and potentially further professional development?
Listening is first and foremost. We do have performance reports that come out. If somebody's doesn't look right or something looks abnormal, I tend to want to look into it. I look into both the higher performers and lower performers. A lot of logic says always focus on your higher performers than your lower performers, but I tend to do the opposite. I focus on the lower performers because there's usually a reason why they're performing in the lower half. There's something they're not getting. There's some process, some part of the process they're not understanding. And I want to take that time to find that out and help get it resolved and be able to keep them, because turnover is tough. Bringing in new people, training them, only to have them not work out when something so small and minuscule could have been resolved to keep them on board. So I think the biggest thing is listening to the grievances, really listening to what the true problem is. Be able to differentiate complaining versus suggestions, because complaints actually are suggestions. There's hidden messages in those complaints that you really got to listen for. And I think that's key to a true leader understanding, okay, this is what they truly mean, and be able to basically say it back to them in a way they'll understand what you know, that you're understanding the situation, even though they might not be able to explain it the best. Lose so many people because there's so much miscommunication between a leader and you know, any type of team member. So you really just got to focus overall on the individual. What does that person want? What do they require from me? What can I do to make their job easier? So that's really the key. I think the biggest area to improve is really money, and I don't really have a whole lot of control over that. I do what I can to keep my team happy, which is I don't always adhere to the attendance policy. You know, life happens, things come up, being flexible. So the next best option is having a flexible schedule, coming up with different ways and ideas to give them more time with their families, with their friends. It's amazing how many people value that over money sometimes. So it's really just trying to figure out what is valuable to that particular individual.
Yeah, actually, that was going to be one of our next questions of what kind of HR issues you see. I know you just talked about money and attendance, but is there any like ones that are you are consistently dealing with?
So since we've gone home and are remote, I have different team members in different states, and there's different HR labor laws for each state. And I have to make sure I'm up to date and understanding of what each state requires of those labor laws. So if I'm trying to be flexible with a schedule, I need to make sure I'm fully understanding of what we can and cannot do with that person in that particular state. And would it be fair to launch something to the entire team if one particular team member can't do it? That's actually what I'm currently facing now. Sorry, Sayeda, we were going to talk about this more tomorrow, but it's a delicate balance, because I don't want to launch something that not everybody can participate in, or at least have the option of participating in. Which was, we're looking at trying to reduce our work schedule to 4.5 days instead of having 5 full days of work each week. But California state laws indicate that any employees that work over 8 hours are automatically on overtime. And when you have a no overtime policy due to budget reasons that you really can't do, it's going to make it more difficult to implement something. So now it's really digging in. Is this truly what our interpretation of the law is? Is this truly what the law is? Or what my next steps are. So I'm currently gathering evidence and other facts off the internet that I can present and see if there's a way that we can get them involved in this.
So our next question, you kind of already explained. It was really what was your role in these issues? So maybe instead of discussing what your actual role is, maybe about how important you see your role or like the responsibilities you have when dealing with these issues would be?
So my role is probably the most vital. I'm the one that's going to keep it alive, keep it going, search to understand and find out. I will exhaust all options before it is truly something as a no. I think that's the most important thing is fighting till you have till there's really nothing left that you can do. At that point, you've exhausted every option. That would be my role. It's more of resolving the situation. I feel like pushing HR, pushing our team member to follow up, looking into certain laws, looking into responses back and what they mean, and trying to help my team member achieve the answer they want to make them happy. I definitely would do my best. Sometimes if it's something I can't do, I will definitely meet with that person. Let's discuss it, and I will lay out a process that I feel they should take on their own. And then I'll follow up with them and see how it's gone. I've had to do that a few times in the past. Sometimes people don't want to hear about FMLA. If there's certain team members that are having situations going on at home or medical issues, I have no problem discussing it with them and presenting it to them as an option that they may want to look into and get more information on. Just because I want to make sure that after a while, I can only overlook the attendance policy so many times before it's eventually like, okay, I have to take action. This is the next best step. So instead of a disciplinary process, giving them their options before it becomes a disciplinary process.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like further along talking about like those HR policies and guidelines over across states. What policies have you used or even created within your own organization to resolve these issues?
Well, I haven't yet. We are currently working on it. So our hopeful resolution is that we can get everybody involved and that we're just interpreting the law for what it's saying, but that what is not actually the truth. So that's my hopeful outcome based on a lot of information I've read. There's a lot of contradicting information. We're interpreting a law that's not necessarily saying this is what it is. You have a choice. It's from what I've read, you can do in California 8 hours, and then any additional hours could be straight time if you choose to follow the weekly of anything over 40 hours would then be considered overtime. So it seems like there's an option, but I don't understand the option. So that's my next step is to read more about, okay, what does this truly mean? Is there really an option, or is this what California is stating, either or? Like they have to it falls under any of these two buckets. This is what it is. There's no way around it.
Okay.
And you'd be surprised at how hard it is to find that.
Yeah, it seems like there's not a straightforward answer, you kind of have to read between the lines.
No, I've spent the last hour researching it before this, and it's just like I keep reading the same thing over and over, where it's like it's more up for interpretation than it is a mandate or a true law.
So the rest of our questions kind of built off the one Bianca just asked. So maybe instead of the labor laws policies that we were just discussing, was there ever a policy that you implemented within your organization that you would discuss?
Um, I would say maybe more of amendment of the policy. I'd go back to the attendance policy. Um, there were some managers I worked for that were very hardcore about the attendance policy. You followed it, or you were going to be written up as a leader, and that was tough to deal with. I didn't like having to have those disciplinary conversations when it came to attendance. I usually knew what was going on, and it was like only adding to what the situation was. So when our recent manager came on, we all agreed as a department that we would be a little more easygoing. It's almost like the three strike rule. Things start getting out of hand, then we need to talk about FMLA, we need to talk about other options. And we kind of laid this out to our leadership team. This is what we're going to follow instead of the strict black and white attendance policy, you're in trouble and disciplinary action. We created our own. They're modeling off what I was doing when I shouldn't have been doing, but what I was doing because it was effective.
Yeah, just another follow-up of that. What like were the reactions of like your peers or supervisors when you did go forward with a more lax policy?
At first, my my supervisor that was basically my counterpart was in full support of it. What a worse way to lose engagement and lose great employees is because you can't be flexible and you want to adhere and create disciplinary issues out of attendance problems. Maybe there's reasons for the attendance problems. Maybe there's not enough flexibility in the schedule. There's got to be reasons why, especially if you've had somebody that's been with you for a year or 2 years. Like, you're going to want to find out what's going on with that person, and what can you do to help them as another human being, I would think. But um, I think that was the most important thing, is making sure that they knew that they were being taken care of, that we understood where they were coming from, and that we're human. We understand um, what it was. The employees loved it, obviously. I don't think my team really noticed it because I never really adhered too much to the attendance policy. You probably, Saito probably couldn't even repeat it to you if I asked her to. But
More than 15 minutes late. That's all I know.
but it's like, to me, that doesn't matter. Everybody's going to make up their time. They're going to make up that time. They're going to work extra hard to get caught up. They're always communicating if something's going on. If they lose power, they lose internet. You wouldn't believe the amount of text messages I get. Like, that's all I ask, is just communicate. And as long as I know what's going on, we can fix any problem, I feel. Now, my director, on the other hand, they weren't so keen on this, but I flexed my engagement results within the company to them over the last 2 years and showed them, look, I don't apply this to policy, and look how much my engagement's improved on my team. And it's because I'm not enforcing disciplinary action on them for things that come up in their daily lives. Like, they got, we want to say we want to be the best company to work for. In order to do that, you need to be flexible with your people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What are some of the key takeaways that you got personally from these issues or the policies that you implemented?
I think the biggest takeaway is that they are effective.
Mm-hmm.
That your team members will appreciate these ideas and appreciate you working hard to make sure that they're not disciplined for something that they can't always control. Knowing that this isn't something that goes company wide. This is something that we're strictly doing because we actually care about each team member individually. It's not about numbers. It's not about goals. It's not about performance. It's about the person. If we say we care about our patients, then we need to care about our employees just as much. So I think that's what I've learned the most about it, is how it truly impacts our everyday team members in a positive way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, thank you. That was all of our questions that we had today. We appreciate you taking your time out and talking to us about these issues.
Yes.
Oh, you're very
Yes.
welcome. It was my pleasure. And if you need anything else, feel free to reach out to me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right, ladies, thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.